My name is Kirk Duckwall. I am one of the instructors for the class this evening. Colleagues are going to be joining us and keep our distance here. Real quick first, expectations of this class, we're going to hop into mortgage shopping kind of as one of the first things that we're going to cover because that is a huge part of this process that gets pushed. It's kind of to the less important as people think about this. They don't realize the importance of how much money you can actually save if you find the right mortgage and how to shop for mortgages. So we're going to do that. We're going to then get into how to find what it is, some of the techniques for what you really want in a house. Get into some of those deal hunting techniques, some of the tools and apps that you might want to try out there as you get into this process, and then some negotiation techniques to get the lowest price that you can, and then how to have good expectations of what to find, things to maybe be worried about, not be worried about when it comes to home inspections. First of all, I put a link in the chat. We messaged everybody with a link to Becoming a House Geek. It's basically our little form that we have you fill out. This is so you can receive all of the free apps, links, tools, websites, along with a copy of the free book that has a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight and more in there. So please make sure you fill out that link. Go there. Don't worry. We're not going to constantly pester you or anything. It's really a way for us to get you that information. All right. So my name, again, as I mentioned, Kirk Duckwall. I've been a real estate agent and broker now in the Twin Cities for 12 years. Prior to that, I used to build and rehab houses. And it was through that I learned I really loved getting out, looking at homes, seeing all the different things. It was fun finding some of the different red flags out there. I really didn't like working on them whatsoever. So it was kind of a natural transition to get into this career. I shortly thereafter getting into it really realized home buyer education and first-time home buyers was something that I had a passion for, and got into doing the Twin Cities Real Estate Radio Show, which is still running today, almost 10 years ago now. And so we've done it used to be a live radio show. Now we have it on Facebook Live. It's still on the radio. It airs every Sunday on AM 950 at noon, but it's also on YouTube as well. I encourage you, you've obviously found our Facebook page, to check out our YouTube channel as well. If you find this information intriguing, interesting, and you really want to dive in and geek out on real estate, we have over 100 videos there of information that you can use kind of to leverage the market to your advantage and to build more knowledge in what I consider is one of the biggest financial decisions that most people ever make until they do it again. So, I really want to thank you all for coming and joining this. Prior to this year, we used to do these classes live. And so this is a kind of a newer experience for us teaching the online version. But the step of taking a home buyer class is a step towards going in the right direction, what we call the surgical approach. And we'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. But it is that biggest financial decision. And this is a very good thing that you're doing to help you go down that right path. As probably if you have friends that have purchased, maybe you know a friend who didn't go down the right path and ended up buying something they didn't like, or a location they didn't like, or feel like they got taken advantage of. And that's why we do these classes, to make sure people don't end up in those positions. So yeah, basically, I came to doing these classes. I look at 400 houses a year in person, through the radio show, through some of the books. I've tried to take all of that and put it together in this short but thorough class to hopefully help you out. I'd like to introduce Ben.
Hey everyone, happy holidays. Ben Greilanger, been a realtor since 2016, but I've been buying and investing in rehabbing properties for about 10 years now. That's how I first got into real estate, and fell in love with kind of understanding homes and working on homes and making homes better. And but as Kirk kind of said, it kind of wears you out. And so it's really been fun to, bring that knowledge into the real estate realm and help, buyers and sellers understand their homes better and, figure out how to prioritize, how to, what projects to take on for their home. So I'm excited to help you learn more about, the home buying process and homes in general. So, and I'm going to turn it over to Chad.
All right, thanks, Ben. Hey, everybody.
Nice sweater.
Hey, thank you. Yeah. So the theme tonight is ugly Christmas sweater. So hopefully you guys can enjoy that. But first and foremost, I want to congratulate all of you for taking your time to join us this evening to taking the first step in home ownership. You're educating yourselves on the home buying process. So that's something to be proud of, and we thank you for joining us. But anyways, my name is Chad Preby. I work with Bell Mortgage. I've been in the real estate mortgage industry for about 19 years now, going on 20. Joined up with the House Geeks about 3 years ago now with the home buying education classes and a regular co-host. Thank you, Mr. Duckwell. Co-host on the Twin Cities radio show. So that, as Kirk said, that's on Sundays at noon on AM 950. Pardon me. I've been out a couple weeks. I'm a little rusty here. But anyway, so that's what I am. That's who I am. That's what I'm all about. I'm going to get Ben back up here to talk to you about
2 ways to buy a home.
Nice.
All right, let's get right into it. All right, so boiling it down to the home buying process, there's 2 basic ways to buy a home: the shotgun approach or the surgical approach, the winging it approach or the blueprint plan approach. So the shotgun approach, kind of the basics, it can end basically in 3 ways. The first way, you go out and look at 30, 40 houses with no real idea of what you're hoping to see. You get disgruntled, you get frustrated, you end up not buying it, you renew your lease, and now you're back into a year-long lease and you got to go back searching again next year. The other way, you feel pressured because of your lease, you haven't planned, and then you buy something that you're maybe not super excited about, and you end up settling. Lastly, you don't feel confidence in your agent or your loan officer and that they're working for you and have you in the best characteristics of you don't trust them fully in your buying process. So you want to not go down the shotgun approach. You want to have the surgical approach. What does that mean? You want to have a plan for how you're going forward in the buying process. Because at the end of the day, you want to buy something that you're happy with. You want to have your buyer priority checklist in place so that you're honestly knowing what you want to buy and what you hope to buy. And you want to have confidence in your agent and your loan officer that they're working with your interests in mind. Because at the end of the day, this is a fun and exciting process, and you want to have a great team working with you to fulfill that goal of buying your property.
Yes, feel free, go get yourself a beer, have an ours, or anything that you prefer to drink, coffee or pop, whatever. So the shotgun approach, it can start out so simply, right? That you're sitting there, you're on your Zillows of the world, and you're looking at pictures. Hey, honey, look at this one. Oh, yep, we should go see this one. Hit contact agent. That's started that path. That is how people start that. Or driving around. Hey, check out this one. Let's call up the realtor. Or let's text this number and let's take a look at this house. That's starting the shotgun approach. So by going the class route, learning some of the techniques, that's the start of the surgical approach. So the first thing, though, the easiest way to avoid this is don't be in a rush. Right? People who are in a rush tend to make the top 5 mistakes when buying homes. So if by chance you have a lease coming up within the next 30 days, you need to get on a month-to-month lease right away. or a 6-month lease, right? You're not going to have time. You need to set yourself up with 3-4 months out to properly shop and find a home and close on that home. Because if you try to put yourself under pressure, you're going to end up settling. You're going to blast through it. You're going to buy something that you don't like. So the top 5 mistakes are not using the right searching and researching tools. You end up looking at homes that aren't actually available. Maybe they're sold. Maybe they aren't actually on the market yet. Maybe they're never coming on the market. Maybe you didn't take the time to go through your home buyer priority checklist. This is not a wants and needs thing. This is a priorities in a sense of like down to the core of what you're trying to get out of this, not like nice kitchen. Okay, we'll get into that more shortly. Not knowing what style of home works for you. This is kind of along the lines of priority checklist, but the style of home is just as important as, you know, going out to the car lot and being like, I don't care if I buy a pickup truck or a sports car. No, you probably do, and you want to know what it is, what that style is that you need. Not having the right financing in place, getting pre-approved for the wrong loan. That's not a spot you want to find yourself in when making offers. And then not overpaying for a house, right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to make that mistake because now you're stuck there. If you bought the wrong home and you overpaid for it, you can't get out of it now. And we know these are the top 5 mistakes because Zillow since then has done a recent independent study backing up our findings on this. So these are things that you want to make sure you don't end up here. And the way you don't end up here is don't be in a rush. All right, then.
So now that you're, heading towards that buying process, you're starting to generate your blueprint for getting going, the surgical approach. Who do you talk to? Who should you see first? A loan officer or a realtor? There's kind of a short answer and a long answer. Short answer, a loan officer. That's one of the biggest people involved in making the deal happen because obviously at the end of the day you need financing usually to make a home purchase happen. The long answer is you should also be reaching out to a realtor because a good realtor is going to have kind of a network of people that they can at their disposal to refer you to if you don't have your own loan officer that can work with you. So a good realtor is going to have that referral to you. So first thing, obviously it's important to talk to your loan officer early on because you really need to figure out your financial situation. Chad's going to talk more about that, obviously, but it's you want to start early and apply early because they have nothing to lose and everything to gain when dealing with your financing. Because at the end of the day, you want to be approved for the right loan. You don't want to be approved for a loan and you're looking for a certain style of home that maybe doesn't work with that style of loan. And that's where your agent and loan officer can work together with you to really help direct and figure out the right home for you. So now looking at, who represents you as a buyer. At the end of the day, you're going to want to work with an independent realtor, a buyer's agent to represent you in the buying process. Some people go out and, go to an open house and think they're going to get a deal by working with a listing agent. And at the end of the day, this is a huge financial decision you're making. You want somebody fighting for your interests. And that's where having an independent agent on your side is the best financial bet for you. So, what does that give you? It's somebody who's going to be, helping show you houses, obviously, and helping you understand homes. But it's also somebody who's fighting for, your financial well-being and making sure you are getting the best deal in the home and not just looking for a quick sale. So a good buyer's agent's not going to try to sell you. They're not going to say, oh yeah, it looks like a good house. Yeah, go ahead and buy it. A good buyer's agent's going to, help kind of pick apart the home. Look for red flags. Do kind of a cursory inspection and kind of point out certain elements and help you understand kind of the home that you're interested in. Things like, you know, water intrusion, the roof, windows, those type of things. You want somebody who's knowledgeable a little bit to know a little bit more about the house. You will probably want to get your own inspection after going forward, but you know, a good realtor can kind of point you in the right direction of those certain things. And at the end of the day, a good agent is going to listen to you. They're going to, you know, try to really understand your goals. You know, what are you hoping to buy, and really point you in the right direction to help you find that. And at the end of the day, there is no, you know, real cost to work with a buyer's agent, you know, up front. The way the industry is set up, it's built into the sale price of the home, that the sellers have agreed to pay the buyer's agent a commission on the sale. So you don't directly have to pay any agent out of pocket up front or anything like that. So you have everything to gain and really nothing to lose by working with an agent up front. So that's definitely an important thing. So Chad's going to get into more about mortgages. All right.
Thanks, Ben and Kirk.
You're welcome, Chad.
All right. How to find the right mortgage for you. So, you know, there is no one best mortgage, but there is a good way to shop for a mortgage, and I'd say there is the best way to shop for a mortgage. And the reason I say that is if you shop for the right mortgage, you can save yourself tens of thousands of dollars, possibly $100,000+ by looking at different mortgage options. So what I want to do right now is talk to you about the different loan programs. And I'm just going to touch on these briefly. And then, you know, if you guys want to go in more into detail about these programs, I'd be happy to talk to you after the show. But there's a program out there called the conventional loan program. The conventional loan program, there's a misconception out there that you have to put 20% down on a conventional loan. That's not true at all. You can actually put as low as 3% down on a conventional mortgage. A conventional mortgage is usually designed for someone in that 680+ credit score range. We can go lower than a 680, but we'll talk about that more in detail later. There's also a loan called an FHA loan. This is a government-backed loan. This also will cater to you with a lower down payment, 3.5%. Interest rates tend to be very competitive on them FHA loans. If you are a veteran, there are the VA loan home loans, zero down loan programs. So if you are a veteran, this is something I want to talk to you about. We do have some different programs that go along with that. Now, when I mentioned conventional, there are some loans that go with conventional. There's two investors in the industry. You got Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Fannie Mae has a first-time home buyer program called Home Ready, and then Freddie Mac has one called Home Possible. These are both 3% down programs. These programs, the benefit to you as a buyer is going to be a lower interest rate, a lower mortgage insurance factor, and a very competitive opportunity to get out and buy your first house. So those are something I want to talk to you about. These are programs that we can take advantage of and get you into your first home with minimal out-of-pocket costs. One thing too is we have these down payment assistance loans that are very attractive, and these programs will offer you financing with as little as $1,000 out of pocket. Amazing programs. Yeah, right? I know. Amazing programs. Now, they're not for everybody, but it is an opportunity out there if you're the right person for that. Another program that we have available to us is through the Neighborhood Lift program. This is a grant program. It's a true grant that they will grant you up to $15,000. It's a 5-year, basically, forgiveness plan. So the first 5 years, that $15,000 is falling off within the first 5 years. Now, if you sell, refinance, change ownership of title, that $15,000 or whatever your remaining balance then becomes due in full. Another program that I offer, the lender I work for, Bell Mortgage, we offer a program called Borrower Smart. That is a program designed for someone that makes less than $82,240 a year. We can get you an additional $1,000 of free money towards your closing costs. So again, these are something that we'll talk to you about on a one-on-one basis if that's what you'd like to do. But ultimately, guys, a good loan officer is going to go through each one of these programs with you, because what we want to do is learn about your goals and then really tailor the programs around, or tailor, loan programs around your goals. So,
but wait, Chad, can't I just go online and click on some of the ads that I see that show really low rates and get a letter immediately.
You can, yeah. You
And
can.
I don't have to give anything.
Well, that's where you got to be careful. So yeah, Kirk, there is, you can go online, and I know we're all in a hurry nowadays. I shouldn't say we all are, but people want instant results, right? And that's not what you want when you're shopping for a mortgage. So when you see these lenders out there saying we can get you approved in as little as 1 minute or whatever they're marketing right now, be careful when you're doing that. Okay, you want to work with a local, reputable lender that's going to be willing to sit down with you to learn about your goals, gather your documents like your pay stubs, your W-2s, sometimes your tax returns. We're going to want to look at your bank statements. We want to learn about you and your financial situation so we can deliver you a loan product. So when you're out shopping with the experts, the real estate agents, you're going to be able to make an offer with confidence. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you know a little bit about the loan programs, let's talk about what's included in that monthly payment. You guys, there's a few different components in the monthly payment. You got your principal and interest, you got your property taxes and homeowners insurance, and then you got what we call mortgage insurance. We'll talk about that more in detail later. If you're buying a townhome or a condo, we're going to be talking to you about homeowners association dues. Okay, so I always hear this a lot. I want to find the best deal, and that's important, right? We do want to find the best deal. And a lot of people, when they're thinking about shopping for a mortgage, they're picking up the phone, they're calling all these different lenders, they're going online, they're looking for the best interest rate. Okay, and what you want to be careful of is that lender that's going to shoot out an interest rate to you. They don't even know your name. Okay, let alone.
When you said be careful, you got the B right. You should have said BS, because they will throw anything and everything at you to try to sell you.
Right.
And that's how they find the real rate.
Good point, Kirk. And ultimately, you guys, I know we're all rate driven, and I am too, but ultimately, what drives the interest rate, and I don't know how many pages this is at least 15 pages of different structures behind what drives your interest rate. And just a couple of them off the top of my head is going to be your credit score, how much money you're putting down, the type of property you're purchasing, whether it's a condo, townhome, single family residence, those all drive the interest rate. So I can't tell you what your interest rate is until I learn that. Okay. So I can give you a ballpark idea, but why? I don't want to mislead you, right? Doesn't make sense. So finding the best deal really comes down to the term of your loan. Some people maybe want a shorter term because they want to save hundreds of thousands of dollars down the road. I mean, honestly, Kirk has a story where you saved what, $120,000?
$123,000 on interest.
By doing a 20-year
I did a
mortgage.
20-year mortgage, which raised my payment by $200 a month,
Amazing.
right? But I saved
120 grand.
$123,000.
Yeah. So there are ways to find the best deal. Now that isn't for everybody. Most people are looking at that 30-year mortgage, especially when you're starting off. But we also want to talk to you about that 20-year mortgage. If that's in your budget, we're going to show you how to save a lot of money. Also, your down payment. You want to know your down payment. We're going to talk to you about mortgage insurance. What's the difference between FHA and conventional? We have single premium financing. We have lender paid mortgage insurance. So there's a lot of different options that go behind that mortgage that just doesn't fit. It's just not one box it all fits into. So that's where we're going to want to have a conversation with you. Excuse me. Closing costs. We're going to go over the closing costs with you in detail here in a little bit. But one thing I want you to know, when I mentioned FHA, they do tend to have lower interest rates, but the mortgage insurance premium tends to be a little bit higher. Where conventional, the rate might be a little bit higher, but you're going to find yourself in a lower payment because the mortgage insurance is cheaper. So as you can see, most people that think the interest rate's most important, we're just getting into that. I mean, we haven't even hit on the interest rate yet. So I want to touch base a little bit about, and Kirk kind of did this already, is the clickbait ads that we're seeing. Clickbait ads would be, like you're online, you're on your Facebook account or whatever you're doing, you're surfing the web, and a little ad pops up and it says 2% interest rate or whatever it is. I'm just throwing some information out there, and you click on that because you're curious. Okay, that's a fictitious person. Again, they know nothing about you. They're basically getting you to pick up the phone to call them with that bait and switch interest rate. That's not the interest rate. So just beware. I think we're all smart, but we do tend to get caught in that trap sometimes. So just to recap a little bit, guys, and this is important for you to know, is your loan. You have to know your loan. When you're out shopping with your real estate agent, knowing your loan is very important because you know the term of your loan, 15, 20, 30-year loan. You're going to know what type of mortgage insurance you have, monthly mortgage insurance, single premium finance mortgage insurance, lender paid mortgage insurance. Who's going to pay the closing costs? Are you going to pay the closing costs, or are we going to finance those closing costs into the mortgage for you and then ask the seller to pay those? We're going to go over that with you as well. One thing now that we're going to talk about is you're going to want to know your interest rate and your down payment. So all of this is part of your purchase agreement. Once you learn that, once you know that, you can go out and make an offer on a property with 100% confidence. All right. I'm not talking too fast, am I?
Nope.
That's good because you're up, Mr. Buckle.
Oh, walked right past it. That's what a half a Coors Light does, right? What he was saying regarding this is the Fannie Mae loan level price adjustment matrix. You can type this in. I would highly recommend Googling that, because this is the truth of what he's talking about, how interest rates are adjusted and how much they adjust them by your credit score or property type or down payment, right? Anybody can look this stuff up. And that's why that clickbait or loan officers being super salesy is not the truth. You know, somebody should really be taking that time to sit down and figure out what it is your goals are, what you want to do, not just pitch you an interest rate. All right, closing costs. There's a lot of misconceptions about closing costs. First of all, what are closing costs? It is the buyer's homeowner's insurance. It is the buyer's loan origination fee. It is the buyer's discount points or buying down the rate. It is the lender's title insurance, or buyer's and lender's title insurance, and it's the buyer's property taxes. That's the closing cost. So what am I saying here? Buyer, 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 right? This is the buyer's closing costs. Now, some people may have heard a parent, a relative, a friend, sibling, whatever. I suppose that would fall under relative. That they got them to pay the seller to pay the closing costs. That's not the truth behind it. They were fed a line by their loan officer, or fed a line by their real estate agent, or fed a line by the huge misconception that this is. So I'm going to kind of walk through what that is in just one brief second. Sorry. All right. So when you purchase a property, you have the ability to put your closing costs into your finance. Think about this like when you go buy a car. You can go buy a car and they say tax, title, license. Well, I just talked about taxes. I talked about title. Okay, there's not license in the house, but tax, title, license. Do you want to finance this into the loan, or do you want to pay this cash out of pocket? Well, that's exactly what you're doing when you quote unquote get the seller to pay closing costs. And so I'm going to walk through a quick calculation here. You go out and you find the unicorn condo, let's say, and it's priced at $97,000. But you don't have the money to pay the 3% or roughly $3,000 in closing costs for this. So you inflate the price to $100,000, ask the seller to pay 3% in closing costs, and voila, you now have a $100,000 offer price with the seller getting $97,000. And some people would say, well, yeah, you got the seller to pay it. Well, actually, no, because you could have just offered them $97,000 and paid the $3,000 cash out of pocket and not be paying the interest for the next X amount of years on that $3,000 differential in closing costs. Now, I've gotten the line before, well, I want to offer them $97,000 and get the seller to pay the closing costs. Well, guess what? You're not offering them 97, you're offering them closer to 94. And we can play this game all the way down to zero. At the end of the day, you're artificially inflating the sale price to roll your closing costs into your loan. The reason this is really important to know is when you're trying to leverage, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, negotiation strategies, you need to know what the seller's getting, how much they're netting, because when the seller is comparing offer to offer, that's what they're going to be looking at. So you need to know what you're actually offering them. So, you know, that $100,000 example, I have that in the book. You know, it's a pretty simple formula. What's really funny is most real estate agents and most loan officers aren't able to explain that properly. So if you understood that example that I just gave there about rolling the $3,000 in by offering $100,000 and they get $97,000, you now understand something that 90% of loan officers and real estate agents can't explain correctly, or don't want to, or don't understand themselves. I've run into that numerous times with agents out there that don't know, they'll argue with me all day long about it. It's like, no, that's not what the math shows. All right. Yeah, sir.
Good, valuable information right there, guys. I still am amazed sometimes when I have someone call me and they say they got their offer accepted and the seller's paying the closing costs. Very rare. I don't know if that's even, I don't even think that's possible nowadays in this market. But anyways, let me get back on track, guys. I want to talk to you a little bit about your mortgage payment again. So now that you've talked to a respectable loan officer, you know your loan program, you've talked through a couple different options. You know what loan program is best for you. You're now empowered with the knowledge to go out and start, you know, looking at calculating your own payments. And what's going to happen is we're gonna send you an app that's going to allow you to start looking at different properties on your own online. But not only that, but calculating the payment accurately. So this app that we're going to send you is going to allow you to look up the principal and interest, the property taxes, the homeowner's insurance. It's a really simple tool to use, and this is what real estate agents use across the state. So congratulations. Ultimately, now you're ready to start looking for a house once you're at this point. The mortgage.
What everybody's been waiting for.
That's right.
The fun part.
You're approved.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to run through now is the top 5 techniques to successful home shopping. These are all very, very important to pay attention to and to execute, because this is going to be the difference between that shotgun approach and that surgical approach. This is the difference between fights in the car, if you have a significant other, and good, valuable conversation. This first one, this is not for me or as real estate agents. This is for you. This is the hardest part of the home shopping process that you're going to go through. And what it is be honest with yourself about what it is you really, really, really want. And so I'm going to kind of go through real quick what that is. All right. Seems simple. That's not as simple. All right. Price, size / layout, condition, features, update, age, neighborhood, surrounding homes, lot size, parks and schools, and location. You need to rate these 1 through 5, what is most important to you and what is least important to you. Number 1 and 2, once you figure this out, you want to not really be flexible on those unless you have a fundamental change in your search, because those are your main goals, what you really, really, really want. Now, see, the hard part here is some people, they fill this out and they go, well, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. No, you got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever that order is, because you're going to have to be flexible somewhere in your home search. Now, this is where it gets real fun. If you have a significant other out there, they need to fill this out separately from you. Then you need to talk with each other to make sure you both get on the same page. This will help you find that home that's going to be your home, to figure out what it is you really, really, really want. It's not the pretty kitchen typically, it's not the fenced yard, it's about your goals of living there. Is it the house that you can grow into? Is it a temporary home? How's the neighborhood? Is this within budget? Those are what's going to ultimately drive your search as you do this. So you have to figure out that piece. Now, some of these things you may not know yet, and that's why I recommend that you do an exploratory set of showings with your agent. Exploratory showings should be no pressure, no sales. This is going out, learning about different neighborhoods, learning about different styles, ages, conditions, all of that. You know, I went through 4 houses today, and they were all different ages of story and a half, and we looked at one story. We narrowed down the search, eliminating some styles of homes, eliminating other ages of homes, because they started to figure out what is that priority list. And that's fun, because now you're not going out there looking at a bunch of homes that you don't like. So yeah, you want to figure that out. You want to make sure you're sticking with your top 2 unless you have that fundamental change. You want to have this conversation up front. I remember a great set of showings I went on where we talked about doing the priority checklist. Okay, we're going to do it. Okay, let's look at these homes over in St. Louis Park. So we went out to St. Louis Park, looked at the homes. They didn't like for the price they were paying. They did not like the condition. They did not like the layout. So we go out again. And then we looked at those homes. I didn't like the price and condition and layout. Same thing the next time out. And I said, guys, you really need to make sure that you do that checklist. And they still hadn't done it at that point. That night they called me and they sounded excited. And they completely changed the area they were looking at because they were so focused on location when their real priorities were layout and size and all of that once they talked it out. We went out that next time, went to Bloomington, completely different styles of homes, same price point, and they found what they loved immediately. Most people don't love to go look at 30, 50 homes. If you do love to go look at 30 and 50 homes, you're probably supposed to be a real estate agent right now. So a lot of people find it very frustrating. So, you know, it sounds fun in concept, but can be very, very stressful. So the priority checklist, technique number 1, style is so important. I made a little reference to the car lot. Not caring about style, like, I'm open to whatever. That would be like walking onto a car lot blindfolded and going, let's test drive this minivan. What's this? Oh yeah, let's test drive that. That's how different styles are. Story and a half home, typically 1 bedroom upstairs, 2 bedrooms on the main floor, bathroom in the middle. If you're buying a 1940s, it'll have typically an eat-in kitchen, no formal dining room. If you're buying something maybe built in the 30s, it's gonna be craftsman style. You're gonna have a dining room, but maybe not as big as a kitchen area, right? That's a story and a half, and that's those different ages. If you have kids and the master's upstairs, maybe that's not what you want. Is that, if you're tall and you have to do the neck bend around the corner, maybe that's not what you're looking for in a house. I have people all the time, I want 3 bedrooms up, let's go look at the split level. Well, that split level has 2 bedrooms up, 2 bedrooms down, as do most split levels. So understanding the styles, understanding the ages, what those homes are, you can really cut down the amount of time. And this is where, to truly not be in a rush, can actually speed up your search, because now you know some of the techniques to get to what you really, really want. All right, technique number 2. Oh, wait, leave it on that priority checklist. The whole time I was trying to remember the one thing I wanted to say. The hard part here is with this home buyer priority checklist, fill it out and then go back and ask yourself or ask your significant other. If I found, let's say price you put as the most important to you. If you went out and found the perfect home in the perfect neighborhood that's in the location that you wanted and the condition that you wanted, would you pay $5,000 more for it? If your answer is yes, you need to move your price down one. And you need to do this with every one of your rankings. Ask yourself if you said neighborhood or location was most important, you drew your lines wherever you did. Let's say you drew your line at Bloomington, all right? I'm not going to go north of Bloomington, but you find that perfect home, perfect condition, all of that, and it was in Richfield. Would you say no? If your answer is no, I wouldn't go there. Well, yeah, then it's in the right spot. If you say, oh yeah, maybe, and don't kid yourself with the well, it depends on the house. Perfect, 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 right? So you know the house is right. That's how you push to find out, again, what it is you really, really, really want. This is a tough conversation. This is why this is technique number one. It is the hardest thing. But if you're honest with yourself, you're honest with your significant other, and you're honest with your agent, you're going to find a lot of homes that you like. That's key. All right. Technique number 2. Now we can change slides. All right. Online searching. I threw up the big no around the Zillow and Trulia. I may change that within the next year. I hear that they're going to make some changes to Zillow, which could be beneficial to using that tool. But currently, if you're out there, you want to stay away from it. Why? Because it's not providing the most accurate and up-to-date information, because it's not a direct IDX feed. And that's one of the things they're going to be working on with that site. So there's other tools out there. And we're going to be sending you some links to, like I said, or Chad said, the tools that we use as real estate agents. Because it can be frustrating. Those sites, those what we call third-party marketing sites, they're out there not typically to provide the best information to the consumer, but to be selling real estate agents, to be selling leads to real estate agents, right? So they want to have every house they can show out there, not necessarily the houses that are truly out there. So yeah, we found inaccuracy ratings of up to 30%. We'll see with those changes if anything happens. But right now, there's way better tools out there to use. And so we're going to send you some of those links. Again, Carly, did you repost that the link? If you haven't already, make sure you fill out that Becoming a House Geek link. That's how you get a copy of the book. That's how you get the list of these different tools, all the different websites to help you research and search for homes.
Very important.
And if you like the things we're talking about, the book really dives in a lot more on that. So we'll get that. MN Compass, that's a great one. MAR, Minneapolis Association of Realtors, I don't have that one up there, but if like all the Market Monday videos that we do, that I put out each week, those stats come from that website. You can figure out exactly, what is the average time on market for a house that's out there, or for a house in a specific neighborhood that's out there. What is the average price per square foot that's happening? What is the prices for different styles? All of it's there. That's a great site. Minneapolis Association of Realtors.
All right. So I'm going to get into technique number 3. Again, thanks everyone for watching. If you have any comments or questions, throw them in the chat window, and we'll be sure to get them. So technique number 3, we call it spec it out before you check it out. And this is basically that idea of really, it's super simple, but use Google Maps, use the satellite view. Like we saw in there, that house looked like a cute little house on a cute little lot. When you look at the satellite view, it's this tiny little corner lot with a tiny little lot, no garage, right along a busy main street, and right near Hiawatha and the light rail. So if that's something that you're not looking for, and living near, that you can easily tell by looking at, you know, the satellite view, the size of the lot, its overall location of kind of what's going on right around that house. So it's super important to, you know, and it's such a great tool. Google Maps is just unbelievably powerful.
Well, they've added a community garden behind the house
Oh,
now
there you go.
since the last time.
So,
Yes.
Wow.
and then even like the Google Street View is you know, in urban areas, you can quickly, you know, pop in, you can see kind of what the general block looks like. Is there, you know, apartments across the street, or, you know, that kind of stuff, if you want to be near that or not near that. You know, also, you know, you can also check crime maps. Every city has, you know, obviously their own police departments, and you can hop onto those websites and, you know, look for more information on crime maps.
And we have one we're gonna send as well.
We're going to send out another link to a great crime map database that you can look at. And then, you know, when you're looking at an MLS listing that your agent is sending you, you know, there's easy things to look at on the descriptions of the homes, not, you know, on top of the Zillow, you know, the satellite map, you know, the room sizes, the room locations. If you know, like say you want, you know, more bedrooms upstairs than downstairs, you're going to want to target certain styles of homes. If you want a formal dining room, you know, you're going to want to target certain styles of homes, and that's where that description and the room sizes can really help point you in the right direction. Another thing is, you know, finished square footage. Is it on the main above ground or is it below ground? You know, there might be 300-400 square feet underground, but it, you know, maybe is not the best finished square footage that you're looking for. So you might want to be a little bit pickier about where that square footage is. And so, yeah, and then Kirk's going to get into pictures and the importance of really understanding pictures.
Realized, Ben, I wrote down my technique order wrong. So it said top 5. It's really top 4.
Top
Top 4. Save a little time. All right, pictures. This one's huge. I was joking kind of at the beginning about the shotgun approach, because a lot of people, they'll sit there and they'll flip and flip and flip, right? And they're looking at these pictures that they see online, and they're making judgments about the homes based on that. Because the pictures are a story the agent wants to tell you or doesn't want to tell you. Maybe they're telling the wrong story. They didn't know the story that they were telling. So I have a couple different pictures here. And what you see, the top house is one home and the bottom one is a different home. But we're going to put up 2 more pictures. That is the same house as to the left and the same, I think I'm in the right directions, right, as I'm looking at that. And so, yeah, they're the same rooms. Nothing was different about those rooms as far as condition. Outside of the top one, that house got staged and used a wide angle lens with the light on and a flash. That was it. No work was done to that house for that second picture. The one on the left was one agent's listing. The one on the right was another agent's listing. The bottom one, we can see, you know, that's a cell phone camera took that picture, right? It looks dark, it looks small, you know, whatever, right? The other one, bright, open, big. Pictures tell 1,000 lies. Today, we went through with a client, like I mentioned, 4 homes. And as they got into each, they were like, wow, do I remember this house? Like, I don't remember having this as a favorite. And I said, well, it's because the picture was taken over here. And they're like, oh, like, yeah, we don't like this house at all, right? It's because they skipped that specking it out before they checked out. And that's okay, because, you know, they were new in the process, right? And a lot of people, I can tell them over and over and over again, pictures tell 1,000 lies, but until you get out there really looking at the homes in person, you don't always remember that, right? And it's like, oh yeah, this one looks great, or this one looks bad. What's funny is you go into these homes, that home on the top, that home on the bottom, both nice houses, right? So the pictures can look bad, and the home can be just fine. A quick little story. Great deal in And well, I'm going to say Bloomington again because that's where it was. I'm mentioning a lot of stories. You're not going to do some Shoreview ones or St. Paul ones.
We've got a bunch of them.
Yeah. No, so I was looking for a client and they sent me this house and I'm like, what do you think? It looks like it needs a ton of work. I said, I'll go preview it for you. So I get out there and had two pictures, a picture of the back of the house, which was terrible. The picture was terrible. And a picture zoomed in on the fireplace, I guess to show that I had a fireplace, but there was a bunch of boxes in orange carpet. Right? And I get the question, well, why are there so few photos? What's wrong with them? There's nothing wrong. It just didn't have many photos. I got out there. Yes, there was this hideous orange carpet, but underneath that hideous orange carpet was beautiful oak hardwood floors that had just been carpeted over. Easy. There wasn't even glue. You could just pull it right up. It was a walkout 2-story in Bloomington. Completely underpriced, $60K low. Had it been on the market for 90 days. And you look out there, 90 days, houses like that don't last. Two photos, two bad photos they can, right? So we'll talk about that in a second. Pictures, tell 1,000 lies. I can make a good house look bad. I can make a bad house look good. I can flip those pictures around and you can see how that can happen. All right, let's go deal hunting. Finding the best deals out there. All right, there are good deals to be had today, even with 30. Inventory was down 32% last week over the same time last year. There are good deals to be had. You just need to know what to look for to find them. It can take a little bit longer, but they're there. You look at the market, you look at how you can take advantage of it. There's different ways. I'm actually going to throw, we're coming up to winter here. You want to find a deal out there? Wait until you get a nice snowstorm. Go out the very next day. Don't go out during the snowstorm. That's just not safe. But go out the very next day to go look at some homes because guess what? Most of those homes probably aren't getting great traffic. So you play the winter market a little bit. Okay, so I kind of touched on this one. Limited number of pictures. What's wrong with a house that has a limited number of pictures? That's a limited number of pictures. That's what's wrong with that. Don't worry about, well, is there something, is it water damage in the basement or is it trashed? You know what, maybe it's a renter in there. Maybe the renter isn't clean. Maybe the agent was lazy. I think once in my career, I walked into a home with a limited number of pictures and I'm like, oh, that's terrible, right? Look at 400 houses in person a year. If I look at 12 years out there, it's not a big deal if it has a limited number of photos. Dark or otherwise poor quality pictures, we kind of showed that previously. That's usually just due to a lazy agent. Cluttered or empty rooms. What's funny is a cluttered room can feel small and an empty room can feel small because you don't have perspective on it. And so people will look at an empty room and go, oh, that's small. I don't want to go look at that, right? They don't read the specs like Ben talked about. Objectionable flooring or paint. Maybe under that orange carpet, there's hardwood floors. Painting walls, you can figure that one out. I put up short sales and bank owns on there. Short sale and bank owns. We don't see a whole lot of these days. Now, there are sites out there that'll look like there's a million foreclosures. No, there's not. And I'm happy to show anybody what the actual foreclosures are. I can pull them direct from the county, what's coming up. But short sales, that's where somebody's trying to sell a house for less than they owe on their mortgage. By the way, buyers that bought this summer that did not do their process correctly and have to sell maybe next year when inventory picks up, might be in a short sale. But that means they have to sell for less than the amount on the mortgage. There's nothing short about a short sale. You need to be ready to be patient if you make an offer on one of these properties. Just because the seller accepts your offer does not mean that the bank that has to sign off on taking less is going to do so. I've seen this process take upwards of 2 years. So if you're a fan of not being in a rush, short sales might work. Okay, foreclosures. Ultimately, they're only 1% of our market. I constantly get people coming up to me, well, with all that's happening with COVID and the job loss, is there going to be a huge influx of foreclosures? No, there's not. I'm not seeing any trend lines moving that way. Check out those Market Mondays. I follow that kind of stuff on there. Okay, yeah. So searching for deals, some of my favorites are estate sales. This is where somebody has moved on to assisted living, maybe has moved on. But an estate sale, they're out of there. You've had somebody in this home that's taken really good care of it over a long period of time, usually mechanically and structurally. Sometimes the cosmetics are a little dated. Cosmetics are easy things to fix. I was watching a video from one of the biggest real estate investors out there, and he said one of the biggest hangups that buyers have is they get too wound up in the cosmetics to miss the huge deal they're bypassing because it wasn't a countertop they didn't like. For mica countertops, we're talking a couple $100 to replace. Hey, even you want to do an upgrade to, granite or soapstone or something like that, a few grand. If you're saving $30,000, it may be worthwhile to think a little harder on some of those things. So people get really wound up there, and that's where you can hunt for an amazing deal. So estate sales are one of those, and it also has to do with some of the motivations behind it, right? You have somebody who's moved out of the house, and now you have family or them that has to pay somebody to maintain that home. If that family's in town, okay, it's a little easier, but if they're out of town, they want to get rid of that house. Highly negotiable estate sales. If anybody wants to talk about how to specifically find those, please feel free. We're going to send everybody that's filling out that link our contact information. I'm happy to discuss how to find some of those as you're searching out there. Relocation sales. Again, big motivation. Relocation is happening huge right now, right? You have people that are getting moved all over the country. They're taking new jobs if they've lost their job, or the company's realizing, hey, we don't need them in this capacity. We can have them here. Relocation sales, basically you have corporations saying, hey, don't you worry about the move. We'll take care of it. The company says, we'll take care of it. You go to your new location. You work there. We'll handle a sale. Well, guess what? They're not worried about the quality of the photos. They're usually not staging the place. They're not making it look amazing as they're trying to sell it. There's deals to be had. Guess what? The seller doesn't care too much usually because the company said, we'll take care of it. If there's differentials, there's many companies that will cover that loss. So relocations, again, feel free. There are ways to find those, specifically narrow your searches down to that. All right.
All right. So we've talked almost an hour about how to really target properties, how to find the best deals. We haven't even gotten to even see a property yet. So we're going to talk about showings. How to go see a home the smart way. Obviously, things have changed in COVID times. So we're not going to directly say, oh, let's go see a bunch of different houses that are fit your goals. It's going to be more of you highlighting properties that you think fit your goals, and then we'll schedule showings for them. But any agent can schedule a showing of any property on the market. You want to have, with the COVID restrictions, obviously, you want to have, masks. Good agent's going to have extra masks in the car, hand sanitizer, that type of thing. Also, with attire, you want to wear, slip-on shoes, things that you can kind of pop on, pop off, quickly to go in and out of the home quickly, because usually you have to take your shoes off. And usually we advise, you want to kind of keep your grouping of showings to about 5 to 6 properties per day. Anything more than that, it can kind of get overwhelming, especially for those last showings where it's kind of you're fatigued and you're tired out and it's kind of a blur, and it really doesn't do justice for those listings. And a lot of times when you get to a home, you're going to go see the home, and sometimes you might just walk in and say, nope, that's not it. And that's totally fine. And a lot of times that's really great information for your realtor to hear. So don't feel embarrassed or ashamed saying, nope, I'm not digging this one. Let's go. That's important to know as well. But what are deal breakers? So yeah, don't waste your time. You want to spend more time in properties you do like rather than more time in properties that you don't like. So yeah, letting your agent know, which ones, on that list are your top ones, because you want to see those first while you got fresh eyes and fresh energy. And when you get there, there's, it's important to kind of take in the flow and the layout of the home. But, a good agent's going to work with you to kind of really look for those red flags. That's what we kind of have the summary sheet. It's also in the book. We call it the red flag walk around checklist. And it talks about, exterior elements, interior elements, mechanical things, plumbing, all those sort of things that, a good agent's kind of, see quickly if there's something wrong with, any of those elements. So yeah, you want to, kind of be checking those things casually, but also, an agent's going to kind of do that for you, where you're going to want your important element is to really, see if this home in its entirety fits your goals. We also, like to use different tools on the job. We have a moisture meter, especially for basements. In Minnesota, there's two types of basements in Minnesota. There's ones that have had moisture intrusion and those that will have moisture intrusion. So you want to, always be careful about basements in Minnesota. Other things like this, this is like a $6 tool. It's called an outlet tester, and it helps you tell the polarity, if it's open grounded, if it has GFCI protection, all these type of things that are pretty easy. We carry with them because it's it's nice to know right away if something's amiss with a property, and saves you some time in going down that $500 full inspection. So now you've seen a bunch of properties. You found one that you really like. It's time to make an offer. If you're 85%, feeling good about it, it's worthwhile to make that offer. You're there because that other 15% really that due diligence comes in that inspection window that you have to really do a thorough inspection of the property. So one of the first steps is to have your agent really do a market analysis of that property. There's different variables that will go into how you want to offer towards that house to get that best price. But comparing that house to other houses around it, other recent sales, things that are on the market currently, all those things are going to come into how you and your agent are going to approach offering on the home. Obviously, getting that pre-approval letter signed by your loan officer is the big element to having that full package. But you have that inspection window as part of your offer to kind of really do a thorough digging into it, and usually costs $500–700 depending on the square footage of the home. And a lot of times it can be some of the best money you ever spent, because I've had clients that we've gone in and during the inspection and we found some surprises up in the attic or other places that we didn't check on the showing, and yeah, it was kind of a deal breaker at that point, and that was probably the best $500 they ever spent to get away from those red flags. Earnest money is kind of part of that offer. I call it the down payment for your down payment. It's money that gets sent over during this escrow period, and it's usually about 1%. Sky's the limit. If depending on your situation, you can put more down if you want to make your offer stronger. But usually 1% is kind of the industry standard. But yeah, so this is where you're going to really want to work with your agent to really focus on negotiating to get that lowest price. So you're going to want to look at the days on market. How long has that house been on market? What are their motivations? Is it an estate sale, like Kirk mentioned, that nobody lives there? It's a relative's home. They're just looking to sell it. They're motivated to sell it. Has there been any price changes recently? Some simple ways to kind of improve your offer is to have a flexible closing date. It seems really simple, but just being flexible on your closing date can really help a seller want to work with you.
I'm going to verbally cut in so
Do
I
it.
can maintain the social distance here. Something that can make it a more flexible closing date is that your first payment
typically isn't starting for 1 to 2 months after your closing date, depending on the closing date that you set. So you can avoid overlapping rent versus mortgage payments, but that's where you want to talk to your loan officer. So you can be a little more flexible than you may think.
Yeah, obviously, you want to structure around your, lease and expiring lease or any repairs that you have to do. But yeah, you have that kind of little bit of a window before that first mortgage is due, so you can kind of time that to your benefit. Having even something like a delayed possession date where you buy the home, but you let the sellers move out for a day and then you take possession the next day. Those type of things they're literally no cost, but it's just your flexibility to really make that seller want to work with you. So, some, different strategies to, how to make an offer stand out so that you can get that home that you really want. First, keep it going.
Yes. All right. So yeah, everything Ben just talked about, those are real techniques to help get you that home at the lowest price. I mean, if you can tell a seller, you know what, you don't have to worry about having to move out in this 12-hour period, coordinate movers, get into that new, get them out of their old house and into their new, while over to the bank and then to closing and to their next closing and all of that. It's amazing how much stress can drive negotiation in the buyer's favor if you know the right verbiage to put in as you're making these offers. So closing date is huge, having that flexible closing date. So multiple offers. Well, down 32% in inventory. You get those pretty photos out there. You can have a house that gets a lot of activity. If you're looking to not get into multiple offers, well, guess what? Don't go look at homes that came on the market the first weekend, because the number one way is wait for homes to have a few days on market. That gets into, again, getting the best price. But if you really love the home and that's the one you want, well, how do you make an offer that can be attractive, can be what you want, and doesn't necessarily have to be the highest one out there? Actually, just one this week with a client, and I specifically asked the agent, was it this clause that we put in that made it work? And I'll talk about that. And he pretty much said, yeah, that was it. So first of all, is it a bidding war? Is multiple offers a bidding war? No, it's not. No matter what a friend or relative wants to tell you, maybe I should say 98% of the time it's not. Usually it's kind of like a closed envelope auction in a sense, right? Hey, we have multiple offers. What's the best you want to put out there? What is what you want to make? It's not like, well, he's offering this. Well, I'm going to offer this. Oh, he's offering that. No, that's up to you now. Yeah, right. It's not that. That is not it. It's not a bidding war, right? And the reason they don't do offers that way is emotion can drive people into offering way more than the home's actually worth. And so it's kind of a standard closed bid, give us the best that you're willing as far as what a seller is asking for. So how do you figure that out though? You have to ask yourself some questions. What's the home truly worth? And then what's the home worth to you? And this is where your agent comes in, right? They should be looking at those appraisals. They should be doing the comparison analysis, like Ben talked about, figuring out exactly what that house is worth. What's that range? Now, it isn't a black and white line. There is gray area. Well, it's worth from here to here. They should be figuring out that range. They should be talking to you, and then you have to go, well, you know what? It has everything we're looking for, or it doesn't. It's like, well, you know what? It might be here to here, but we're here. Or it might be here to here, and we're willing to go here. It's a conversation. It's an honest conversation. You're going to have one shot, typically, at making this work. One of the best deals I ever got for a client was a multiple offer situation where they paid $12,000 over asking price. And it was a deal that they got where it was, I think the appraised value was $75,000 over that, right? Figure out what's the home worth and how do you get there, what's it worth. All right. The one thing you don't want to have is we should have happened to you, right? You can get so emotionally wrapped up in getting that great deal that you forget to listen to what it is you really, really, really want. And if you sit there and you do the calculation of for every $1,000 over ask, or for every $1,000 you change your offer and basically adjust your offer by $1,000, or you adjust your offer by $1,000, it changes your payment by $6. Random dog running around. That's how I got distracted.
What's that dog's name?
Okay, so yeah, you have that payment that adjusts by $6. If you lose a house over $6 a month, is that okay? If it is, okay, fine. You now know what that home is worth to you, but you have that one chance that I talked about. So you really want to make sure you think, figure out what it is you really, really, really want, and you ask yourself that question. If you wake up the next day, your agent calls you and says, hey, we didn't get it. If you're like, oh, we should have. Well, imagine that scenario playing out. You lose it, your agent calls you. You want to come to that conclusion in a multiple offer situation before you find out the news of where you're okay with. If you're like, we lost, and you're like, whatever, perfect. You did the right price, right? That's what you want to do. Okay. Now, there are ways you don't have to be the highest. I mentioned a little story about getting an offer accepted for under, and it's because we used a couple of specific clauses within the offer. So the first clause that you can use to not necessarily put all your cards on the table at once is do an escalation clause. We're going to offer X amount over any other offer. And I have people say to me all the time, well, why wouldn't I do that in every situation? Depends on your financing. Doesn't always make sense. If I got a cash offer that I'm competing against and I'm FHA financing, an escalation clause may not get me to where I need to be to get the seller to accept that. But if I'm conventional 20% down, shorter inspection period, things like that, yeah, an escalation clause can work great where I only need to go up a little bit, not put everything out there at once. An inspection guarantee. This is a simple one. Now, an agent that tells you to waive an inspection, there's one exception to this rule, which is regarding condos. But if an agent tells you to waive the inspection, I would be real hesitant if that is a recommendation that they're giving when buying a single family home or a townhome. But an inspection guarantee is something completely different. The inspection guarantee is saying, hey, I'm not going to nitpick the inspection. If there's little things that come up, we will guarantee up to X amount that we're not going to nitpick that inspection. So inspection guarantees, that's the one that got me that offer earlier this week. Can be huge, which was lower than another offer out there. An appraisal guarantee. This one's, a great one, which is saying that I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. If you are higher in down payment, this is a great strategy. If you're lower in down payment, you need to have a conversation with your agent regarding commission contributions or things like that to maybe make this work. That's a little bit more in-depth topic. If you want to chat about that, I'm happy to do so. Again, you'll have information on that, but there's ways you can set that up. So if you are lower down payment but still want to offer one of those, there's a way to do it with commission flexibility. And possession dates. That's another one that, as Ben mentioned, can be really beneficial in getting your offer accepted over an offer that might even be higher than yours. Letters to the seller can be appropriate in the right situations. So if you're getting into this, you may want to draft kind of a letter about you and you know, some of the things that you like about potential house, I guess, because you're going to maybe need this letter a couple times depending on how things work out in your offer process. But it's not appropriate in every situation. So be careful with that. Okay, the home buying inspection. All right, you've been out on showings, you've gone through the pre-approval process, you've made an offer, maybe it was off multiple offers, maybe it wasn't, you got something accepted. Now it's time to get a home inspection, but not all home inspections are created equal. Very different. Now, first of all, who is a qualified home inspector? It's actually funny, I just had a guy reach out to me who is a home inspector, and he's like, I'm thinking of doing my own inspection. I'm like, you are the first person who I'm going to say is a qualified home inspector, right? I would never tell anybody that's a good idea, but he is a home inspector. And I know him very well. So, yeah, who's a qualified home inspector? A qualified home inspector. It's not your dad who's bought 3 houses. It's not your brother or sister who's an engineer. It's not, you know, you who fixed up a couple homes, right? It is somebody who goes through 100+ houses a year that's picking it apart and who's doing a good job of that, right? So you go through 100+ houses a year, okay, maybe that's one qualification, but there's the good job piece of it.
I have a couple example inspections. I have
one here. This cost the buyer, I believe, $450 for this inspection. And it is filled out a checklist in pencil with circled and some scribbly notes. All right. This one cost the buyer less than that. Pictures, in-depth descriptions, references of where to look, many pages, and everything that he found cost less money, far more valuable than this. There are no standards in the state of Minnesota to become a home inspector. But if you look for the inspectors that are licensed around here to actually do inspections for the cities. So City of St. Paul has what they call Truth in Housing Sale in Minneapolis as well, and a handful of other suburbs. Look for those people, or take the recommendations of your agent, because an agent shouldn't be recommending a home inspector that's just going to push it through. They should be recommending somebody who's going to give you a real honest breakdown of everything that's going on there. Because inspectors can scare people out of houses of things that aren't big problems, or bypass things that are big problems and push it on. And you want somebody that's going to do that fair representation. And again, I found that the inspectors that are certified with the cities tend to be the better ones there.
That's kind of like your homeowner's manual, isn't it?
Basically, yeah. This here is when you close, you have a list of the things that you might want to start tackling on your home.
Right.
And you don't want to just sit there and worry about every item that shows up, because they're gonna break them down as to what's just a comment, what's marginal, what is a hazardous item that shows up, right? So what you're looking for when negotiating on inspection items is, what are things that are life safety items or things that are not common for a home of that age? That's key, right? A sticky window on a 1930s Craftsman, that's pretty normal, right? Something that doesn't have a vented pipe from the 1800s as a drain pipe, pretty common. An ungrounded outlet in a 1950s Rambler. Well, if it's 2 prongs, that's super common, right? that has that. Is it a hazard?
So you want to make sure that you're focusing on the right things there. Have some great shows on our YouTube channel with some home inspectors out there that get into that a little bit more in depth. Okay. All right. So you've cleared the homeowner's inspection and you've decided that you're going to move forward into the next piece. And that's key. When you make an offer, it's not done. It's not like I'm making the offer. That's it. I have no chance to get out. You do. You have your home buyer's inspection. Anything that shows up there is something that you could retract your offer from, and you get to keep your earnest money as long as your agent worded everything correctly. That's the key. All right, accepted offer, timeline, and closing day. Things get quiet with you and your agent, but you and your loan officer are going to be having lots of conversations, right? That they're going to start requesting different things from you. We're going to get into the do's and don'ts in a second. The title company is going to reach out to get a closing date set. The appraisal is going to get ordered. This is really key. Appraisal is an assessment of risk that the bank is going to make. So they're going to send somebody out and say, is what the buyer offered appropriate for that house and what we're willing to do for that buyer in a sense? It is not market value. Do not get yourself wrapped up in appraisal value is market value. I've seen that mistake a lot. If you have a property that's in multiple offers, you have somebody who's willing to pay cash or 20% down financing or waived appraisals because everything is so perfect with their profile and that house, and it's way up here. That's the market value. That's what people are willing to pay. Appraisal value is that risk assessment, what that bank's willing to make. So that's going to happen. Figure out that piece. And that goes back to that appraisal guarantee and figuring that out with your agent and all the different nuances there. It's going to go into lending underwriting. They're going to start asking for a whole bunch of things there. And there's some common requests, right? As far as well, yes, common requests, bank statements, credit card statements, loan paperwork, so like student loans or car loans, things like that. And yeah, there's just going to be different guidelines. You're going to hop into the don'ts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. A lot of good information here, guys. Makes you want to jump out and buy a house. Seriously. Amazing. Anyway, so the do's and don'ts, this is very important. Pay attention to this very closely because this could be a really big nightmare for you at the end of the process if you.
No joke.
Yeah, no joke. This is serious. So if your loan officer reaches out to you and they request things from you, make sure to respond to them very quickly. They're not asking you for stuff because they feel like they want to. They're asking you for stuff because they need to for your loan approval. Don't go out and make any big purchases on the credit cards. Don't buy a car. Don't buy furniture. Don't buy a boat. I'll tell you.
That sounds like you've had that one happen.
Well, I have. I had about everything happen. But I will tell you something. Not too long ago, I had a gentleman. We were about a week from closing. His credit report expired. We pulled new credit and he went out and bought a brand new truck with an $800 a month payment. Gentleman no longer qualified for the loan. We had to get dad. Okay, we made it happen. We're pretty creative. We had dad refinance that new truck loan into his name so we qualified for the house. But anyways, don't do that to yourself. Don't make any large deposits into your bank account. You know, if you have cash in a shoebox in your closet, keep it in your closet, in your shoebox. Do not deposit that in your bank account. That will cause problems. Don't pay off any debt with cash because we're going to need to source where you got that money to pay off that debt. We cannot source where cash came from. So I think you get my point. Cash is good, but not good when you're qualifying for a mortgage. So just keep that in mind. And if you're making any deposits into your bank account, make sure they're deposits that we can track, you know, payroll deposits or, you know, anything like if wife transfers money to your bank account, or if you're transferring money in between bank accounts, that's something that we can track. That's easy to do. So again, cash deposits are bad. Don't go out and make any big purchases. Or if you want to make a purchase, just reach out to your loan officer and ask first so we can make it happen. Anyways, thank you guys.
Good advice. So yeah, we're getting towards the end here. You know, you're heading towards closing date and you're buying your house. Super exciting. So, you know, and obviously buying a home is a huge investment. You know, you're potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're, you know, committing towards this property. So you want to try to do your best to maintain it. You know, you see a lot of houses get really run down. You don't want that to happen to your baby, your new investment, your home. So you want to, you know, really, you know, try to do monthly, you know, or at least quarterly, seasonal kind of checklist items to keep your house in good running order. You know, as obviously, you know, there's the winterizing things, seasonal summer elements you want to do, you know, making sure you're staying on top of peeling paint and caulking and, you know, controlling moisture. You know, all these type of things can be found on, you know, thisoldhouse.com. They have a lot of great tutorials and checklists for, you know, just how to tackle those little projects that maybe you're kind of scratching your head of like, how do I do this? You know, there's a lot of great information. YouTube is unbelievable too. That's where I first got into learning about how to do drywall repair and all that kind of stuff was through YouTube and reading books. There's great manuals out there. So yeah, don't be afraid to, you know, get dirty. And if it's not something for you, there's plenty of people that you can hire to make sure that your house is in good shape. So, and you know, there's a lot of stuff we covered. So if you have any questions about any of this, please reach out to any of the three of us. You know, we're happy to answer any questions and kind of put you in the right direction. So thanks again for watching, and Kurt will take it home.
All right. Yeah, as Ben said, I know we went over a lot. There's a lot here. We're going to send everybody. Sure, you fill out that link that we posted there to get a copy of this book. It has everything that we discussed in there and more. The YouTube channel as well. We're going to be emailing a bunch of information. You fill that out as far as the different tools that we've talked about, hopefully things that you find helpful in this process. If you have a real estate agent already, you know, hopefully you found this very helpful and useful as you start that shopping process. Ben showed this little tool. Go buy this. This can save you a little hassle as you're running around, you know, especially if you're using an FHA loan. Any hardware store has that. And he mentioned watching YouTube videos for home maintenance. That's a great idea. There's lots of little things that you can do that can save you a ton of money that are simple things when it comes to fixing your house. But yeah, if you have a real estate agent, hopefully you found this helpful. If you do not, and you'd like to reach out and interview, whatnot, talk to us, we're happy to do that. That's our full-time job. And we'd like to assist in any way that we can. If you haven't liked our Facebook page already, please do. We post all sorts of stuff on there, beneficial real estate education stuff, and occasional funny photo as I'm out and about. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, tons of stuff on there. Market Mondays can be really beneficial when it comes to seeing exactly when the right time to possibly lock rates are, and to know where things might be going with interest rates as far as the market, and also what are different sectors of our Twin Cities real estate market doing. And, you know, if you have any friends, family, whoever, colleagues that you would like to recommend this class to, well, you know, we do one about every month or so. Please do have them check out our page. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you again, Chad, for your information, Ben, and the assistance from Carly. Everybody have a great night.